Hey guys, Ash here. Ever since Sony ditched their own smartwatch platform and announced the Smartwatch 3, I've been curious to check it out. Even with the slew of releases from other OEMs, this is still an interesting smartwatch. It combines an unconventional design with features that still aren't seen in other smartwatches. Oh, it's also the first for Android Wear users that are slightly more sports focused. Firstly, the watch is relatively simple looking. There isn't much apart from the metal accents on the silicone band. Personally, I think this looks quite nice. If this is to be a sports-orientated watch, then this is all it needs to be. The folding deployment clasp works well, and I haven't yet caught it on anything accidentally undoing the strap, which is a first. The issue with this system, however, is that if you want to change the tightness, it's not as quick as a traditional strap. The main part of the watch is a self-contained rectangle slab which pops out easily through the bottom, so changing bands is very easy. If you fancy a change away from the sports stuff, then some of the metal bands that Sony sell could be an interesting choice. It changes the look of the watch entirely. I don't have these personally, but I think they look awesome. Using the smartwatch is like any other Android Wear watch, but having one with a more conventional rectangle form factor is a first for me and ultimately feels kind of odd. This is mainly down to the majority of watch faces being circular, but now inside of a rectangle screen. It all feels like a waste of space. And after using the 360, using anything but a circular form factor feels odd. Apart from that though, it's your standard affair. The screen feels nice and swiping on it feels much more natural than the Moto 360, as the screen on the Smartwatch 3 blends right into the strap. Despite the form factor though, information is better displayed on the rectangle screen. I mean, talk about conundrums, right? The screen itself is a 320 by 320 1.6 inch transflective display, which again looks very similar to all the other smartwatches out there. But something that's been bugging me is the performance outdoors. The transflective display makes it easier to see, which is great, but the consequence of this is that you start experiencing some form of rainbow distortion. It doesn't get in the way of function, but does cheapen the whole device somewhat. During my travels, I was in constant temperatures of 40 Celsius, which is roughly 103 Fahrenheit, I think. Using any smartwatch in this temperature is uncomfortable, but what makes it worse is that the sunlight forces the watch to operate at a higher temperature than it normally does. I hope future development of smartwatches makes it useful in varying temperatures so that it's actually useful. The main feature that sets this watch apart is definitely the GPS. No other Android Wear watch has it and thus makes it viable if you want to double it up as a sports watch. The design lends itself for that, and being able to leave your phone at home and still track your runs or cycle rides is extremely convenient. Sony's efforts here have to be commended because the feature list doesn't just stop there. The watch is also IP68 rated, which is incredible really, making it totally dust tight and waterproof up and beyond 1 meter. So should you get the watch or not? Having the Smartwatch 3 doesn't give you any extra benefits if you're in the Sony ecosystem, so it all comes down to whether you like the design and the features it offers. You'll be glad to know relatively that the battery life is good. With the ambient screen off and minimal use, I could get through 2 days, but that just isn't me. I use it with ambient screen on and I'm on the watch frequently. So with that use case scenario, it lasts about a day, but your usage will definitely vary. I know people have complained about the charging port, but for me, it's a small inconvenience to pay for having something that's ubiquitous and standardized. Sure, it's a bit awkward and gets in the way of the strap, but overall, I'm more likely to find a micro USB cable than I am with proprietary or wireless chargers. Given that the software is pretty much identical on most Android Wear watches, does the Smartwatch 3 stand out? In most cases, no. Ultimately, it's not that different from the others, so if you already have one, you should probably stick with it. If you don't have one though, there are cases in which the Smartwatch 3 does really well. Performance is great, the inclusion of IP68 rating is awesome, there's inbuilt GPS, and the fact that this is one of the only watches to have NFC is pretty awesome. It makes it more versatile and actually probably future-proof. There's also the novel way of removing the watch from the band, which only screams for Sony to create other housings that aren't necessarily anything to do with watches. So this leaves me with price. If you're looking to get an Android Wear watch right now, then you'll find that the Smartwatch 3 is currently cheaper than both the LG G Watch R and the Moto 360. Given that it's ultimately a watch, it's something that's personal to you and probably reflects you as well. So it'll be down to subjective taste. So I'm really interested to hear what you make of the Smartwatch 3. Let me know down below, and if not, let me know on Twitter at TremblingWater. Let's get talking. Anyways guys, thanks as always, take it easy, and I'll see you soon.